if you don't have all the connection and the identity and all the things that make you you, achieving all the things in the world isn't going to bring you happiness. And so that is why I'm so insanely like die on my hill of the mother-daughter connection. Hi, I'm Jen.
Hey, I'm Suzanne.
Today, we are talking about why I personally am so passionate about mother-daughter relationships and why I have made it my life's mission, if you haven't seen it before, to touch and help 1 million women have better relationships with their daughters.
Love it.
I know. I'm just going to keep saying it so it comes into fruition.
That's right. I like it.
Yeah. So Suzanne obviously knows all of this, so she'll just get to chime in here a little bit. But I believe that women, specifically mothers, like their legacy is how they teach their children to connect and to communicate. Like that is what lives on, in my opinion, from moms. And I was just curious as to based on, and this didn't used to be, by the way, my healing version, Jen, our 2.0, as we like to talk about, feels this way. So I'm just curious about how you feel.
Yeah, I was laughing because the first thing you said is got to make sure they're connected and connection is the important one. And I was like, well, we also want to make sure that they, reach for desires and like go for their thing. So it's like on the both sides. But yeah, I think that legacy is so important. And our children are very much reflections of what we've taught them.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't like that reflection that reflects back at us.
Yes.
And sometimes we do. And we're super proud. So I think it's really important. And I'm really proud of you, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So for me, and I think for both of us, but I'll just chime in with you because now we're, just so you know, guys, we're getting into the good stuff now. Suzanne and I are starting to dive into my next few episodes are going to be very touchy, sensitive subjects. But for me, the mother-daughter relationship became even more important when I had my daughter, right? So I've been a daughter and then now I have a daughter. And I think when I had her, I was so excited to have a daughter. And then in other ways, I was just like completely terrified to have a daughter.
Why?
Because what I would have wanted as a teenager and as a daughter, I didn't get what I needed, I think, from my mom. And so I was scared to have somebody feel the way I felt about me. So how I feel about like just not getting things I needed from my mom, I didn't want to be the mom that had the daughter that had the feelings that she wasn't getting met.
That makes sense.
And I think for everybody, it's not like some like, as Suzanne always says, there's not like this one magical answer, right? Because everybody is just so different and everybody has so many different needs. So just because I had needs, I realized like, hey, my sister has totally different needs than I did. And what she wanted from our mom was totally different than what I wanted from our mom, or what I needed or what she needed. And so having a daughter it wasn't like, oh, I'll just give her, everyone's like, just give your daughter what you never had. What? What does that even mean? You don't even know her yet. You don't even know what she's going to need or what she wants or what like her personality needs to be full or whatever. And so I just realized in that moment that there was just this like super complex relationship of mother to daughter. And it just, it just goes on through generation and generation. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and there's the legacy.
Yep.
So what is going to be the legacy? And for me, as everyone knows, I was like, what's the connection going to be? Is she going to be connected with me?
Yeah.
And I'm curious for you. I mean, you didn't have a daughter, but what would it felt like for you, do you think, hypothetically? Would it have scared you to have a daughter? Or would you have had any feelings about it?
Yeah. So I remember looking at my mother-in-law and being like, what do you do with a boy? Just because it was just the two of us growing up, two girls. Yeah. So I remember being like, oh, how am I going to raise them? So I had a whole other set of concerns.
Mhm.
But originally all I wanted was a girl because I felt like at least a girl I understood. Like I understood what to do.
Oh, that's so interesting.
But now that you're speaking, I would have been freaked out. I think once I actually was gonna have a daughter, I think I would have freaked out
Yes.
a little bit more. And I think all moms freak out, right? Like the vast majority of us are like,
Yeah.
"What do we do with a kid?" Like they are a responsibility,
Yes.
holy moly. So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I definitely can say when I had my son, I was like, what do boys do? What do they need? I don't know what they need, right? So it's not it's not to say for me it was like the realization of you and I really struggled with our mother-daughter relationships for different reasons.
Yep.
And then I had my friends who struggled for different reasons. And then I had friends that had like really strong connected relationships with their moms. And then here I am with a daughter going like, well, I still haven't figured this out with my mom. So like how am I ever going to figure it out with her? And like I don't even know what I'm missing. I just know that it doesn't feel good or, I mean now I know I was missing connection. And I think that I just became like not obsessed, but like pretty passionate about figuring out what was going on. So I had been in therapy for a long time. And when I had her, I like immediately changed focus and like I found myself talking about different things and like really diving into like, not like mom's a bad person or whatever. Like my mom did the best she could, our mom, I should say. We always do that. There were a lot of things she did really well, but there were things that I needed that she wasn't capable of giving to me. And uncovering that wasn't about like being a victim, as you and I always talk about. It was really just like identifying like what was missing there that I want to have in my new relationship. And I always say, like, there's no shade or like negativity or anger. It really was just like the discovery of like what was missing, what did I need, what could have gone better.
Yeah, and I think what's really important because I think people are weird about mother-daughter relationships. Like if you say anything that's not kind about your mother, it can get real
Yes.
sideways real fast. And so I think what's important is that you're allowed to look back on your relationship with your parents
Hmm.
and want different things. That does not make you a bad person and it did not make them bad parents. And I feel like
Yes.
that's a really important part of this conversation. Like just like if you have a
Hmm.
friend and you like we talk about all the time, we disagree about things, you and I disagree with
Oh,
my
all the
friends
time.
about things. It doesn't
Yeah.
make anyone a bad person. It just means that we would do something differently or that friend wasn't giving us what we needed or our husband or whomever. And so there's such a stigma attached to it. And I know that like we
Hmm.
get nervous even talking about it because like we just said, our mom did the best she can. She did a lot of things great. She gave us a
Hmm.
lot of things. And so but we're allowed to talk about the changes we want to make for future generations and what our legacy is going to be. And I think that
Hmm.
is what you were looking for. And what I know about you and your journey and your passion was you wanted to create a relationship that was very different.
It's not right or wrong. It's different. It's
Correct.
something that I wanted. Yeah. And so one of the things that I uncovered was that, or discovered, as we like to say,
Hmm.
is that a lot of what our family thought was connection, and I think you would agree with this, but I'm curious about what you're going to say, was definitely around proximity. Our family was together all the time. Our mom was very present in our lives. She showed up to things like, again, lots of positive things. That's not what the show's about. So we had a lot of proximity. We did family vacations together, it was just all the things. And then we also had obligation. There was a lot of sense of obligation of like, this is what you do for the family. This, as a family, this is what we do. Right. And like, if you love me, this is an expectation. If you want connection, this is an expectation. So there was a lot of obligation. That's the only word I can come up with. And then the other thing was appearances, right? So, like, how did we look? Like, we did not discuss the fact that Suzanne and I did not talk for a year. Not
Yeah.
something that would have been discussed. The fact that I was having a hard time in school, the fact that Suzanne didn't get picked for the highest team in volleyball. Like, I'm just coming up with random stuff. Like, we would have never shared failures, so appearances. And so I was kind of giggling when I was prepping for this podcast because I was like, oh, so basically it's like modern version social media. It's the procured, or what's
Yeah.
the right word?
Curated.
Curated. Yeah, there it
Curated.
was. Yeah, the curated version of what our family was, right? And so for me, that's what I was taught that that was connection. So when I went out into the world, and this is all right, looking back, therapy, research, books, like talking to friends, just deep diving, because that's my personality is to research everything, is I realized that the reason I was dysfunctional in relationships and not getting what I wanted, which I know you're shocked, was connection,
Ding, ding,
is
ding.
because I was doing all the wrong things, but that's just because that's what I was taught was connection. So it wasn't the connection I was wanting. And so I basically took proximity, obligation, and appearances and put that into my friendships, into my relationship with you, into the relationship with my husband, and the relationship with boyfriends from the past, right? I thought that that was me being connected to you. And so when things would go sideways, I was like, I did all the things because everything was very transactional.
Yep.
But I either felt empty and depressed and sad, and I just never felt like what I needed, and I could never explain. But I was very dedicated, I would say, to my friendships and my relationship with you. Like those were like, I was hyper focused, like our relationship and friendships, right? Because that was the closest I felt to connection and feeling unconditional love and like the things that I needed, that I could just be me and people loved me.
And I remember totally thinking you were weird. Like, cause you were always like seeking the like you were always like trying to like pull you in. Like you're always like,
Yes.
Suzanne, like, come
Yes.
here.
Yes, like let's be close. Let's be so close.
And that
like,
felt very foreign to me. And like, I would be like, she's just so emotional. Like, I don't really know what to do with this. Like, she's not seeking achievement. Like, I very much registered with what we grew up with. And as we've talked about,
For
like
sure.
that has been the base of what I've done for a long time. And finding connection has been something that I've had to learn along the way.
Right.
And like the whole thing about Sparked Mom is finding your inner connection, right? But I still remember being like, whoa, okay, all right. I just remember you always wanted to do stuff. Like you were just always like, hey, let's go here. Like Jenn had like all the friends and she was always like, come here, come out with us. And I remember being like, my goodness, I have like no friends. Like Jenn's always doing something. And as someone who compares themselves to everyone, I was thinking, I'm failing. I don't have all these friendships. But what was odd was that I was more invested in like our family and like my husband's family. And I would be like, but Jenn has all of these friends. And that always seemed odd to me.
Yeah. And we would like kind of talk about it, I think.
Yeah.
Like earlier on, you were like, how do you have time for all these friends with all these family obligations? And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And So, yes. So for me, I realized like, I want connection. I want my relationships to be different. And mothers are, in my opinion, the teachers of communication and connection because they're literally the original connection. Like you grow in the mommy's womb. You know what I mean? So like you're truly like the first person that's connected to them and making them feel unconditionally loved and connected and caring about who they are. Like we talked about, like, not everybody's the same and not everybody's the same as you. So like, what does this little new person care about? Like, what are they going to grow into? What's important to them? And I think those are all the things that a mother brings. But more importantly, those are the things that the young people, including the sons, are going to take to their further relationships. And so when I've had people be like, what do you mean break the cycle? Break the cycle doesn't mean that, it was bad before. It's just you want something new, and the legacy that you are going to create starting with you breaking the cycle is that I want a legacy of connection. I want a legacy of communication. I want that to be the driving force. Yes, I want my kids to achieve. Yes, I want them to reach their goals. But like we talked about in another episode with you, if you don't have all the connection and the identity and all the things that make you, achieving all the things in the world isn't going to bring you happiness. And so that is why I'm so insanely like die on my hill of the mother-daughter connection.
And I would say what you and I have discovered, and I hope it's coming out at the podcast, but I'm just going to be explicit about it, is that
Perfect.
for us, there's a meeting in the middle between
Yes.
connection and achievement. Like both are very important. Both are something that, have self-esteem and then and also like that you feel confident about. Like those are two important, like two kind of sides of a different coin or whatever.
Hmm.
And so what I know now is because you've taught me so much about connecting, and I know the program you have right now is connecting mothers and daughters, but connecting mothers and sons is similar, not the same, but similar. And it's a
Yes.
step-by-step process. And I think what you've really taught me, and that what I think that you can give to the world is when you don't understand connection and you weren't raised with connection, and it's not something that even know you're missing, you have to learn the steps. Like it's like anything else. There's no courses out there that teach us that. And I think that's what's so cool about your program is that you're actually teaching those steps. Like people that are seeking connection like you, they know
Hmm.
they need it, but they're not sure how to get it. And then if there's
Yes.
achievement people like me, we might not even be aware that we need that connection. But ever since I've taken those steps and I've started to find my own connection, my relationship with
Hmm.
my sons is a million times better because now we're getting
Hmm.
closer to achievement and connection.
And I think just acknowledging as moms that achievement, connection, no matter, you are creating a legacy. Like my big takeaway from this was like, sorry, friend, you're creating a legacy whether you like it or not. So you can be like, yeah, I'm not ready for that. Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. But at the end of the day, like your kids are going to turn 18 or 20 or whenever it is they move out of the house. And they do not, this one's going to sting, have an obligation to have a relationship with you. It is based on the relationship that you built with them, whether or not they're going to be super involved, not involved, be estranged from you. Like it's all based on what you taught them and what you gave them. And I know that's like really hard to hear, but I say that because I know so many people that have so many regrets. I know older women that have regrets. I know daughters that have regrets. I mean, there's just so much regret going around and so much confusion. Like you said, like I didn't even know I needed connection. And so I just want to bring awareness to the fact that the legacy is happening. Connection has to be part of it. And unfortunately, in our most recent generations, connection really was proximity, you know, obligation and appearances, like very much how social media is. And now that social media is here, I feel like we're on the verge of just like continuing down this like downhill spiral for society. And that sounds like very dramatic, but I feel like so strongly about it. And I just want to teach people about connection. And I focus on the mother and daughters because I've been all those things. I've been the daughter. I'm now the mother to a daughter. But like Suzanne says, it's really for everyone.
Yeah. And I think just in wrapping up, the question to our
Yeah.
listener would be when you're looking at your relationship with your kids, whether you're coming at it from a connection based person as a connector or as an
Hmm.
achiever, what does that connection look like? Like, just discover it right now. Take a look
Hmm.
and see, is there room for improvement? Like, what's the legacy? If you died today, what's the legacy you're living with your
Oh,
kids?
that's a rough one.
And that's it for today.
I hope you learned something in my story. We're getting into the good stuff.
All right. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.